Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. We're going to be reporting on the numbers of recordings from recordings in June. This show is being taped in July. June actually was the end of our fiscal year, and we actually saw an increase in certain categories at the registry. The number of sales of property deeds increased over May. There were 936 deeds in June, more than the 797 in May, 17% lower than last year. In previous shows, I talked about 2021 being a really boom year during COVID. Believe it or not, real estate went through the roof in terms of values, in terms of recordings. But again, sales over the course of the year to date are down 12%. You're going to see an image of sales of property from Abington to Whitman. There are 27 communities in Plymouth County, one city, Brockton, and 26 towns. Every community had activity, Plymouth being the most sales, Brockton being second. The mortgage story is something that is continuing as interest rates bump up continuously. The Federal Reserve is looking to bring up interest rates to bring down inflation. Because of that, the free finance market has shut down almost completely. There were 1,811 mortgages recorded in June. Certainly there are mortgages used in the purchase of property, but the refinancing numbers are almost zero, and that is more than the 1,793 in May, down 42% compared to the 3,115 mortgages in June of 21, and year-to-date, down 44%. So the unique image you're going to see is of foreclosure deeds. We have tracked foreclosure deeds very closely since the crisis in 2008. The numbers are really low. There was a moratorium put in place during COVID, and the numbers have not really climbed up significantly. There were 7 foreclosure deeds in June, less than the 10 in May, but 250% more than in June of 21 because there was a moratorium in place, and 60% higher year-to-date. And foreclosure notice story is a little different. We're starting to see a creep up in foreclosure notices. The number of foreclosure notices for June 29, less than the 31 in May, 71% more than in June 21, and 129% higher year-to-date. You're also going to see an image of foreclosures and orders of notice from all of the communities in Plymouth County. As you can see, there's still a lot of zeros there. Historically, Brockton, Plymouth, and Wareham have had the highest number of foreclosure deeds and notices, but the numbers are very low. I just want to make everyone aware we have a free fraud alert. If you sign up for it and there's anything recorded on your property, you'll get an email. It's on our website under fraud alert, and it's a great way to make sure that anything recorded on your property is something that is intended. So we have a great guest coming up in the next segment of the show. We have a realtor, Bill Callahan, talking about the current state of the real estate market from a realtor's perspective, and we'll see you in the next segment. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. In this segment of the show, we always do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, appraisers, commercial real estate brokers, commercial lenders. But the highlight of our show is always when we have a very well-known, trained realtor. And I have a realtor with me today by the name of Bill Callahan of William Callahan Realty Group, Keller Williams Realty. Welcome back, Bill.
Happy to be here.
Had you on my show before.
Yeah, I'm happy. Thank you for inviting me back.
So can you tell our viewers a little bit about how you got into the real estate business?
It was a long time ago.
Right.
I can tell you that. So my father was a realtor since 1952, and in '86 I left the Knapp Shoe Company in a sales position and decided to get into the real estate business with him, and went on from there. Just enjoyed it. I'd already had some background on the sales side, and just learning the real estate business through a lot of his experience, it kind of helped me get my grounding.
And a little bit about Keller Williams Realty?
So I was independent, like my father, until 2018. So that was 32 years, I think. And then I decided to go to Keller Williams because of the branding, for a number of reasons. The brand, and then the education side of it, the technology side of it. Our business has changed from having a book to everything on a phone or a computer, all electronics, and they're very strong on that side. And that, being an independent broker, it's hard to have those tools. So I benefit from that, and even the help, the back office type support that you get. So it's been very helpful to me in my career.
So every time I do a show, and I do them on a monthly basis, the marketplace is a little bit different. And we're certainly in a different marketplace than we were 6 months or a year ago.
Right.
How are things going out there in the marketplace?
It's a hot topic, believe me. It's a big question, and we're in for in our business at Keller Williams, we call it a shift. So the real estate market, just like any market, is always changing, and we've had a lot of experience over the last year or so or more, where it's higher prices, multiple offer situations, listings down, number of listings down. Been very frustrating. It's a market that's out of balance. It's not fair to the buying side. Very helpful to the sellers, not fair to the buyers. So this correction, this rise in interest rates, is going to change that. And it's going to change it to the point where you're going to see listings on the market longer, prices more competitive, and price adjustments. Already, listings that I have, I'm facing, I think it's 3 listings now, where I'm going to have to advise the sellers to adjust their price down, to attract a buyer.
So the inventory itself is still very tight?
It is tight at the present time, but you're going to see listings on the market longer, right? So they used to be, on for 6 days and sold. You're going to start seeing 30, 60 days, because the sellers don't get they're the last ones to get the message. I was talking with a seller yesterday, and one of the things I do if I get a listing, I actually put them on a search so they see what the competition is. And by doing that, they understand where they are. If they're too high, geez, that house is a beautiful house you have over there. I shouldn't be like that house. I should be something different. Mm-hmm. So it's an education for the sellers. And while they're getting educated, the buyers, believe me, they've already got the message. Mm-hmm. They're not going to go over the top.
Right.
They don't want to be caught holding that high-priced house or buying that high-priced house. And they're going to spend a little more time looking. I had feedback yesterday, and this I thought about it on the way here today. The condition's always a question, but in this house in Brockton, they complained about noise from the highway. Now, I haven't heard anything like that in 5 years or more. Mm-hmm. When a buyer says that means, okay, they're going to be looking around for a while. Mm-hmm. You can't change noise from a highway, right?
So clearly the bidding war days are over.
The 5, 6, 7 multiple offers is over. A couple of different offers, maybe, but the days of the real hyper offer is over.
So give some advice to somebody out there watching the show that are looking to buy a home.
So the key to this whole home purchase program is the financing side. Okay, so like my daughter, she's been looking for a year now, and she got pre-approved a year ago. And when you get pre-approved, you have to continue to go back to that loan officer as the rates vary, and they're changing now. Mm-hmm. They went up. They spiked 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. They came back down a little bit. They may go up again. So you have to have your pre-approval updated 30 to 60 days. No more than, it can't be 60 days old. Mm-hmm. You have to call them before you make the offer. Can I still buy this house? Do I still qualify for $300,000, whatever that number is? So that you stay in touch with that loan officer, and if they're good, they'll have varying programs to say, okay, well, you're good for 5.99, and we'll watch the rate. If it drops, you can take advantage of that drop. And then you're looking for houses within that price range.
And so that's the next step. First pre-approval. and
First, a
then
pre-approval.
Then they have to decide where they might want to live, school systems,
Correct.
all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Right. And again, talking with these loan officers today, the key for every transaction, and it's driven, the rate is driven by your credit report, right? So you have to go to them, and if they tell you what to do about improving your credit, which it is, you can improve your credit over time, over 3 months, 6 months. You have to do everything they tell you. And if you follow that, then you're going to get a better rate when it comes time to buy that house.
Have you seen a lot of people doing buyer education programs?
That is coming back to the market as well, right?
Good.
Buyers are much more informed than they were, years ago. They're coming into the market with a knowledge of I need a home inspection. The waiving of the home inspection, that's going to go away. Okay, people are going to have home inspections.
That was a crazy period.
Crazy, and not fair to the buying side again. Right. And the appraisal, you're going to see changes in the appraisals too. They're not going to be, automatically going up 10%, to cover the extra money. You're going to see competitive appraisals. So, if you list something and it doesn't come in, the deal's dead. If it doesn't appraise for the agreed upon purchase price.
So let's switch over to a seller. From what you've been experiencing, what's your advice to a person out there looking to potentially list their property?
So the seller's got to sharpen the pencil too. Okay. They cannot just put it on the market and don't do things. And you heard that word staging, and I do something similar, but I go through the whole house. But sellers want advice. So we go through the house, and I tell them to make a list, 10 things. The least expensive is at the top. And you clean out the house first. And I have a number of people that we can refer, to get help. And you get a painter, number 2. And maybe you get rid of some of the furniture. You'd have too much furniture. But and you get a landscape guy. And you start to make the place look attractive. You've been there for 20 years or 30 years. There's work to be done.
So let's talk about going forward. We're coming up to the middle to late summer. Where are we going to go in the fall? Crystal ball.
Let me get my crystal ball.
You have a crystal ball.
Well, July, this time of year, it's like Christmas time, so it's slow. The first 2 weeks of July, 3 weeks. And we get into August, people that come home from vacation. I think we're going to have a more typical market where we'll have a fall market. Again, I think there's going to be more choice for buyers because listings will be on a little bit longer, and maybe you'll see that price come down a little bit, more affordability. And it's going to happen because at 6%, there's a whole lot of difference from 3% to 6%.
Right.
And I think we're going to have it's going to be a different fall market. The question that's looming out there is if the rates are going to go up another time again, and when that will happen. If it happens Thanksgiving or Christmas, okay, but I wouldn't want to see it happen in August because it'll have a negative effect on the market.
Yeah, certainly that's the talk out there.
That's the talk.
The Federal Reserve's going to do another bump.
That's the
based
talk,
on the inflation rates in the country.
Correct. That if it goes up another point, if we get up to 7%, all bets are off. Then because that's a real change.
So the market is moving around. We certainly see that. 2021, there was no summer, spring, fall market. It just was hot the whole way through.
Hot all the time, right.
But,
and your recordings here that you have, the deeds. So we had a lack of inventory. So your recording of deeds is down because we didn't have houses to sell. But I've just put 2 houses on the market in the last week and a half, two new listings, and I have 2 more coming up. So you're going to see the sellers are going to. There's still that need to do something. I don't need the big house anymore. I'm going to retire and move to Florida. All those things are going to remain. So you're going to see people still, putting their house on the market. So you're going to see, more listings coming as we get through the summer. You're going to see, I think you're going to have more choice, more listings.
So I've always been a big promoter of home ownership. It's probably the best wealth builder we've ever had,
Yeah.
with all the breaks you get by home ownership. But I'm very, very concerned about a whole generation of first-time home buyers
Yeah.
that are having great difficulty getting in the marketplaces. Someone that just had a family member you walk through the process. What's your best advice?
It's pretty frustrating. I have 4 daughters. One's married in a house. One just sold a house and frustrated. And she said to me, I'll never buy another house again. I said, Catherine, don't ever say you're never going to buy another house. You'll buy 5 houses. It's very frustrating. My youngest daughter is buying a house now. She was fortunate to find something affordable, and it's in Brockton, and it's in a nice neighborhood, and she's taking advantage of that. So I would encourage, it's expensive to rent, it's expensive to buy. Affordability is a big issue. But I think there's going to be a correction. It's going to take time. And some of the young folks, they've been through a pandemic. It's been frustrating for them. Life has not been good to this younger generation.
So how are first-time home buyers dealing with the down payment issue?
So my daughter's buying a house with 3% down money.
Wow.
So there are enough programs, and if you shop, if you just don't stick to one, you can call 4 or 5 loan officers or banks and find out what their programs are. Ask that question, the first-time buyer program, first-time assistance, mass housing finance. Do you have that mass housing program?
Sure.
Right?
Great
We're aware of that. That's
Great
down.
programs,
That's
yeah.
down payment assistance,
Yeah.
and it's income driven. You have to have a certain income level. You can't be making too much money, so there's certain income. But do the research on the finance side, and if you're not buying today, you might buy next year. So stay in the market. Keep your foot in. Keep the interest. Anne Marie was. God, she had every town on the Cape. She had every town from Plymouth up to, I can't name all the towns she had on her search.
Certainly happy she's buying in Plymouth County.
And Brockton. Who would have thought, where I grew up in Brockton, I used to deliver papers on that street where she's buying a house.
That's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us again.
Oh, it's so much fun to be here with you.
Your wealth of knowledge is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay. Welcome back to the Register Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. I want to thank Bill Callahan for the great job he did at talking about what is happening in the real estate market, particularly in Plymouth County. It's a moving target, as he mentioned, and we'll continue to follow it very closely. In this segment of the show, we always talk about some of our great Plymouth County and Plymouth Colony history. The holidays for the month was Independence Day on the 4th, National Pina Colada Day on the 10th, National Mac and Cheese Day on the 17th, National Hot Dog Day on the 20th, National Lasagna Day the 29th, National Cheesesteak Day, National Avocado Day on the 31st. A lot of my notable records relate to Independence Day. So the first notable record you're going to see is of John Hancock, certainly a great part of the separation from England by what is now the United States. John Hancock was the president of the Continental Congress. He owned a wharf in Plymouth. Certainly, there's a John Hancock life insurance company, and if anybody has been asked to sign a document, many times they'll say, put your John Hancock on it, because the biggest signature on the Declaration of Independence was John Hancock. And if you really dig into the development of our country and the creation of the decision to separate from England, the famous names of Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Hancock stand out. And it's really something that we really recognize so much here in Plymouth County because our history is so great. So the next notable record you're going to see is America's first female lighthouse keeper. Hannah Thomas was a lighthouse keeper of Gurnet Light, Plymouth Gurnet Lighthouse on Gurnet Point on the north entrance to Plymouth Bay. Now, Hannah Thomas was the wife of John Thomas. When John Thomas went off to fight in the Revolutionary War, again for our freedom from England, he passed away during that effort, and Hannah was named as the lighthouse keeper. During the Revolutionary War, the towns of Plymouth, Duxbury, and Kingston erected a fort on the Gurnet. They later sold the lighthouse to the United States government. Hannah and her son sold it to the United States government. It is presently cared for by Project Gurnet in Bug Light, another great lighthouse in the bay. Great story. If you ever can't get a chance to get out there, they usually do a tour of that lighthouse once a year in the summer. The next notable record we have is another great story of the Revolutionary War. It is the New Guinea settlement at Parking Ways. Parking Ways Cemetery is in Plymouth at the Plymouth Carver line. Is an important site in Plymouth County's African American heritage. There's a cemetery there where there are 4 Revolutionary Wars soldiers buried. Cato Howe, Kwame Quash, Plato Turner, and Prince Goodwin established this settlement, and they were given this settlement by the town of Plymouth because what they had done for the country and allowed them to live on the land. They originally came to the United States from Guinea, Africa, via Cape Verde. So if you go to Route 80, go to West Plymouth, find that place, you can actually walk into that settlement, and it's a great part of Plymouth history. And last but not least, we always talk about some of our Plymouth colony history, particularly ever since the 400th celebration. In this particular one, it is from the Book of Laws in 1658, and it was a decision by the court. And back in those days, there was no separation between the court and government. The court promoted the propagation of the gospel and the flourishing of religion. That's language from that court law. And they needed to do that if they were going to be part of the community. We have at the registry on the second floor the original Plymouth colony records, the handwriting of the colonists. And as conditions permitted, we will be opening that more up to the public. But there's some fascinating stories in those records, and this is one of them. So I want to thank PAC TV for allowing me to do this show. Donna Rodriguez in particular allows me to come in and do this show once a month. This is my 141st episode. We do one a month. And I want to thank Chris, Dave, Matt, and Abby for their help today in this beautiful studio on a beautiful day in Plymouth. So we'll see you next month, but have a great summer.